Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started. The voice coach brought a slice of Irish tradition behind the scenes, and Blake Shelton loved it. Niall Horan's quick-fire performance of the Irish folk classic Rattling Bog turned into a backstage party on The Voice Season 23, and earned a dance of approval from none other than Blake Shelton. As seen in an April 2023 behind-the-scenes video shared by The Voice, Horan's playful take on the traditional tune had Shelton not just listening, but breaking into an impromptu jig right there on set. While Horan's pop stardom is known worldwide, his roots in Irish music came through in the sprightly rhythm of the timeless folk song, which had his audiences clapping along within seconds. The light-hearted jam session captured the pair's easygoing camaraderie perfectly, giving fans a glimpse at how much fun Shelton and Horan have when the cameras aren't rolling. Niall Horan transported Blake Shelton to Ireland with his impromptu Rattling Bog. Following Shelton's backstage acoustic version of Garth Brooks's Friends in Low Places, he encouraged everyone to sing along. Horan also picked up his guitar and illuminated the masses on the centuries-old Irish tune Rattling Bog, raising spirits instantly with the energizing performance. As the crew members began clapping along, Horan smiled while singing each rapid-fire verse with jovial grace. It was a brief but delightful ditty before Horan stopped in a fit of giggles, joking to Shelton, "I'm Irish." Despite the short duration, it was enough to inspire Shelton to get moving and grooving, doing a light-hearted impression of an Irish jig that had Horan cheesing. From their heartwarming odd-couple dynamic to the various hilarious pranks they played on each other throughout Shelton's final season in the red chair, Horan and Shelton have stolen hearts with their effortless friendship. Blake Shelton and Niall Horan were quick friends on The Voice. Horan has opened up about his relationship with Shelton on numerous occasions. After connecting on the set of Season 23, the voice coaches became fast friends. "Me and the cowboy became good friends very quick," Horan said of Shelton in a March 2023 interview with NBC Insider. "We realized we're very similar people. For the good and the bad. He's so funny, from the minute we met him." Upon joining the pantheon of music icons who've graced the NBC competition, Shelton gave Horan a proper initiation by sharing a pint the night before the premiere. From the first hangout, Horan sensed a bond blooming. "All the coaches kind of got together the night before the first ever audition. And, we had some food and a couple of drinks. And that was the moment of his and Shelton's, initiation," Horan recalled. "And just from that first minute, I was like, man, he's my guy. We just had a laugh." In March 2023 interview with NBC Insider, Horan said that Shelton had become like a dad to the Irish singer-songwriter, commending both Shelton and his big sister Kelly Clarkson for making his debut in the red chair such a fun ride. "It's been amazing to work with Kelly Clarkson and Blake Shelton. Meeting them for the first time, the bond that I've grown with them has been amazing," Horan said. "It's been so funny to dive into that southern sense of humor with them and see the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. It's been hilarious. Blake, he's like a dad to me. He's really helped me during the show. I've really enjoyed his company, and watching him has been a real honor." The backstage hallways of The Voice are usually buzzing with activity, camera crews rushing from one corner to another, contestants nervously warming up, coaches chatting between commercial breaks. But on this particular afternoon, the usual chatter was replaced by a familiar melody drifting through the air. It wasn't part of the live show. There were no bright lights, no roaring audience, and no official mic check. Instead, it was Niall Horan, the Irish charmer and former One Direction star, casually perched on a stool near one of the dressing rooms, strumming his acoustic guitar and singing softly. The song? A soulful, stripped-down version of one of his own hits, with that unmistakable raspy smooth tone that could stop a crowd in its tracks. But instead of thousands of fans screaming, his audience was a few crew members, a handful of contestants, and, very unexpectedly, Blake Shelton. Blake's backstage stroll turns into a mini-concert. Blake Shelton, who had just wrapped filming a light-hearted promo with Carson Daly, was on his way back to his own dressing room when the sound caught his ear. At first, he thought someone had brought a Bluetooth speaker backstage. But as he rounded the corner, he realized it was live, and it was Niall. Shelton stopped in his tracks. He didn't announce himself, didn't interrupt, just leaned casually against the doorframe, arms crossed, wearing that familiar "I'm impressed, but I'm not going to say it out loud just yet" smirk. Niall, completely unaware he had a country superstar listening in, kept playing, his foot tapping lightly against the floor as he moved through the chorus. When the song ended, the small group clapped, and that's when Niall looked up, only to see Blake standing there, grinning like he'd just found a hidden gem. "Dang, boy, you're wasting this back here. Dang, boy, you're wasting this back here," Blake boomed, walking into the room with his signature mix of humor and genuine admiration. "You should be on stage doing that for the whole crowd, not just the folks hanging around waiting for a coffee refill." Niall laughed, a little caught off guard by the compliment. "Just keeping the vocal cords warm," he replied, brushing his hair back in that effortless way that fans swoon over. Blake wasn't done. "I'm telling you right now, if you don't sing that during the next show, I'm gonna drag you out there myself." The playful coach banner. Of course, if there's one thing The Voice fans know, it's that Blake Shelton isn't just a coach, he's also a professional teaser. "Look at you," Blake teased, pointing at Niall's guitar. "You've been hiding back here all season, pulling this singer-songwriter romantic act, while I'm out here working my tail off to get my team to hit those notes." Niall smirked. "Yeah, well, at least I don't have to sing about tractors every week," he shot back, earning a round of laughter from everyone within earshot. Blake pretended to be offended. "That's called art, my friend. The people love tractors." Contestants catch the magic. A few of the contestants, who had been loitering in the hallway before their own rehearsals, suddenly found themselves watching an impromptu cross-genre jam session. One of Team Niall's singers whispered to another, "This is insane, I'm literally watching my coach sing with Blake Shelton like it's nothing." Blake, never one to miss an opportunity, picked up a spare guitar leaning against the wall. "All right, Irish boy, let's see if you can hang with a little country," he challenged. What followed was 5 minutes of pure The Voice gold, Niall trying to follow Blake's lead on a playful country riff, and Blake attempting, not entirely successfully, to sing a verse of one of Niall's pop hits. The laughter was so loud that Carson Daly came running over to see what the commotion was. Carson becomes the unofficial MC. Carson stood there shaking his head, half amused, half in awe. "This is what happens when you leave these two alone for 5 minutes, he told a nearby producer. "We've got ourselves a crossover album in the making." Shelton, clearly enjoying himself, responded, "Oh yeah, Carson, get ready for Nashville meets Dublin. We'll have tractors and tea, fishing and fiddles, whiskey and whatever it is he drinks." Niall just laughed, shaking his head. "We'll see who outsells who, cowboy." Social media gets a sneak peek. Of course, in the age of smartphones, nothing like this stays hidden for long. One of the crew members captured a short video of the jam session and posted it to Instagram. Within minutes, the clip was circulating on fan accounts, with captions like, "Blake Shelton just casually fanboying over Niall Horan backstage. When two worlds collide, country king meets Irish prince. We need this duet on the next season finale." Fans flooded the comments with heart emojis, laughing faces, and requests for the two to officially record a song together. Blake's official reaction. Later that evening, during a break in filming, Blake was asked about the moment by a Voice digital producer. "You know what?" Blake said, leaning back in his chair, "I've been around a lot of talented people, but there's something about when you hear somebody sing in a completely natural setting, no lights, no big stage, just them and their guitar. That's when you know they've got the real deal." He added with a grin, "And Niall's got it. But don't tell him I said that. He's already cocky enough." Niall's response. When Niall was asked later about Blake's reaction, he smiled and said, "Blake's just being nice. I think he's secretly plotting to recruit me for a country duet." Then, with a wink, he added, "But hey, I'm not saying no. As long as I don't have to wear cowboy boots." Fans are ready for a collaboration. By the time the episode aired later that week, the short backstage video had racked up hundreds of thousands of views. Fans began tweeting at NBC and The Voice producers, begging them to put Blake and Niall on the same stage for a full performance. Some even mocked up fake album covers with titles like Strings and Stories and Across the Fields and Seas. The moment that stuck. For all the laughs, the banter, and the friendly jabs, what really stood out about the moment was its simplicity. It wasn't part of the show's carefully planned spectacle, it was just two artists from completely different worlds connecting over music in its purest form. Blake's reaction wasn't rehearsed, and it wasn't a publicity stunt. It was the kind of genuine, spontaneous moment that reminds fans why they love The Voice in the first place. It's about talent, passion, and the joy of sharing a song. And for Blake Shelton, a man who has seen countless singers walk through the doors of The Voice, it was a rare reminder that sometimes, the best performances happen when nobody's expecting them. If producers are smart, they'll find a way to bottle that magic and give fans the duet they're now demanding. Until then, the memory of Blake Shelton walking in on Niall Horan's backstage jam will live on as one of The Voice's most charming behind-the-scenes moments, proof that great music has a way of finding its audience, even if it's just in a quiet hallway between takes.